Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnia-Pod. I'm Rob Holbert, your host today. We've got a little bit of a smaller group in here today. Joe, let's have a roll call and see who's here. If anybody's paying attention, Ashley's busy
Scott
playing
Johnson.
on her phone.
Brady Petrie.
Ashley Trice.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, there was breaking news on my phone about Gio Lopez.
Sure.
I guess it wasn't
Anyway,
so breaking.
and Tommy
already knew it.
Tommy Hicks is here too, yes. Anyway, well, I'm glad we could start the podcast with that. And we are, so the mayoral race, I know that this is like the thing everybody asks me about everywhere I go right now is who's going to be the next mayor? And I have no answer. But Scott, this weekend, you reported that Steve Nodine, the former county commissioner, former city councilman, notorious perhaps in many people's minds, has said he is going to run for mayor.
Yeah, and this was, I think it's been speculated. You know, he had some posts over the last couple months that very much hinted at the fact that he was going to be running. So he posted that Saturday. You know, we ran a quick little story on it the next day, and but I mean, the immediate questions are, you know, what about your criminal history?
The immediate question is that, right? Yes, that since he has a felony conviction, he is not, according to state law, if you can read the state law, it is a little. The law is a little weird, and then
mentions idiots and insane people.
It does mention idiots and insane people not being able to hold office.
That was my favorite part of that law right there.
It is,
like,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, no idiots or insane people.
I'm pretty sure that we've got several.
The halls in Montgomery might be empty. I don't know.
Didn't they rewrite the Constitution to get all that out?
I think that's one of the things Chris Pringle's been trying to do over the years is kind of get rid of that kind of stupid stuff. But anyway, it's yeah. So anyway, so if you read the law, there was also in 2020, there was a ruling from, or an opinion from the Attorney General saying that people who have felonies cannot hold office.
Yeah.
So,
and
what
his
is his answer? Has he given you an answer?
Well, he's got two issues. He either can have if he gets his rights restored by the Pardons and Parole Board, well, then he can qualify. So he's got till June 24th, basically.
That's for voting rights.
Yeah, that's for voting rights, which would allow him to qualify and then actually appear on the ballot. But if he can do that, but not deal with his conviction, which he would require a pardon of some sort from the governor or president, he could appear on the ballot. He could win the election, but he couldn't actually take office if he's not pardoned. So he's got to have this kind of divine intervention, providential timing here.
And y'all remind everyone what he has a conviction for.
You can move your microphone.
Yeah, so Rob is probably a lot more well-versed in the actual details. He sat through this trial.
So did Ashley. Ashley did as well.
I didn't know you were there. Very cool. And so, yeah, he was accused, he faced allegations that he murdered his mistress, Angela Downs.
Angel Downs.
Thank you.
Yes.
Angel Downs in 2010. That failed in the grand jury multiple times. I think it went to a jury. Did they have a trial?
The first one was a mistrial.
He only had one trial, but it was a hung jury mistrial. And then, so
I think it was 11 to 1, or
I don't know if it was that close, but I don't remember
9 to
I don't
3.
I don't
maybe
remember.
It's 9 to 3. I want to say
that may be
for conviction.
I can't remember, but there. I mean, I will say, sitting through it, there was not I don't want to get lost off on this again, but you know, there was certainly the evidence, the forensic evidence. There were experts on one side saying one thing, experts on the other saying the other thing. So that was basically a wash.
Remember the jean skirt button had scratches on it.
Yes.
I don't know if you were sitting in that during that day, but that was
my favorite moment.
Because they said that he had drug her across the concrete driveway, and there were scratches on the button.
There was a lot of stuff that was pretty wild. Judy Newcomb, who was the DA at the time, tried it. And her she made a big deal about how that was one of the things they said. Her body had been drugged, and so her hair was splayed out on the concrete.
Yeah.
And Newcomb said this was kind of like a OJ, if the glove don't fit kind of thing. She says, nobody's hair falls like that when they fall. And so she demonstrated this by falling backwards, and her hair splayed out exactly like she said it wouldn't do. And so it was a bad moment.
That trial.
Did she not try this before?
I don't know. It was bad, man. It was a bad move. It was really like
that had to
it was really
14
like
years
letting OJ put on the glove. It was bad. Yeah, it was bad stuff.
Well, long story short, he ends up pleading down to perjury and harassment on that case.
Yeah, well, they basically
going to go back again. So, yeah,
essentially what it was, they put Whetstone back in. David Whetstone was appointed as the special prosecutor. He had been the DA before. They brought him back and said, "Okay, you're going to be the special prosecutor on this." And they had already lost once. They already had a mistrial. There were a number of things that were, from an evidentiary standpoint, there just wasn't a lot of stuff there.
Hey, next time we're not going to let you fall on the ground.
Yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff there. So, they basically came to him and said, look, we're going to take you. First of all, it would have had, I think they were going to go to Dothan or something like that to try it. Or Enterprise, yeah. And they basically said, look, you can either plea down to stalking and harassment and take a charge on that.
It was last minute because we had already booked a hotel room for Kevin Lee, who was covering.
That's right.
To cover it over there.
So anyway, he pled down based on that, and then of course his federal gun charge, which was owning a gun while using illegal narcotics.
Yeah. And he's argued that this was like that. All of that was them coming after me. And the gun charge definitely seems like it was.
I'm going to say that the gun charge is like, he had a gun that was sitting at home in his gun safe from what everybody says. He said it, everybody says it. Nobody alleges he had a gun with him committing a crime. But so he's sitting on the beach in Florida smoking pot and gets sent to a federal prison because he has a gun.
Yeah, which don't smoke pot. You're not.
Well,
you're not in that situation.
He had admitted that he was using narcotics too. I don't think it was just pot.
I think the pot was the only charge.
Really?
I believe pot was the charge on it. But regardless, it's still like there's a lot of people who engage in that and own guns. I don't know.
Yeah, but it seems like a long shot because he's got to get all that. He's got to get all of this dealt with before June, and But however, I will note maybe it's not so unprecedented. He wants to. Last month, Donald Trump,
unprecedented, right?
Yeah. 34 felony charges, was just reelected for his second term in office. I think Nodine has gone to Facebook bringing that up and posting about how, if it's for mayor, if a president can be a felon, why not a mayor? And then, so there's that. I don't know how that helps him. I don't know if he's going to go to the legislature and be like, hey, what do we do?
He told me basically, he texted me this morning about it, and I asked him, hey, what is your plan? He thinks he's going to be pardoned. Mm-hmm. And I brought up the federal gun charge because it is very, very similar to the charge that Hunter Biden was pardoned for by his father.
I think this is the most interesting part.
Who then trashed the law. Which, it's a very rarely used law, and it has typically been used to get big time drug dealers, things like that. It's kind of like the sending Al Capone to jail for tax evasion sort of thing. Get him on something. And so he thinks, Nodine, I think, believes that there's an in that regard because, Biden pardoned his own son for more or less the same exact thing.
Same charges.
And also in doing so said this law is no good, et cetera. And so, he thinks there's an opportunity there for that.
He said basically it was like when this charge has no aggravating factors of crime.
Right.
And that's was his son's case, and that's Nodine's case.
Yeah.
And so it's, it brings up this big question. Well, okay, if you're going to pardon him for this why don't you pardon Nodine? And So maybe the stars have already aligned for Nodine already. I don't know.
Yes. With that said, maybe he legally will get on the ballot, but then he still has to make the case to the citizens of Mobile that he is worthy of this job.
Right.
You know, he did make quite a mess of his political career the last time he was in office.
I think that's a nice way of putting it. Yes, he did. It flamed out pretty badly and I mean, I will say he had always had some personal issues going on apparently, but I mean, when he was in office, I think he did a fairly good job in office. The other political stuff was a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly when he was on the county commission, there was a time there that he was, I mean, compared to Mike Dean, I would say that, you know, it's definitely one of the better than that. You know, we had some issues on there.
He's got a "Make Mobile Great Again" slogan.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked about this before, but you know, it almost seems like it's kind of reeling off of his grievances with Baldwin County.
Yes, I think there's definitely a lot of that. So and there's definitely a lot of anti-Baldwin County in his message. Also this week, you're writing about Connie Hudson, the current county commissioner who took Nodine's spot back in the day.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
And she has changed she's taken the money she had on hand, her money from a reelection, which she just was reelected to county commission, and she has put it in a new campaign fund.
Yeah, she did that. Actually, we didn't find out. She did it Friday, so last Friday. Didn't find out about it till Monday morning, but recorded on the Alabama Secretary of State's office for the campaign finances, and she's dissolved her county commission campaign.
Right.
And has basically transferred $150,000 to a Connie Hudson campaign fund.
Right.
Very vague about what it is, but I expect there's going to be a name added there in the future.
There's not really much reason to do that unless you're running for office for something else. That's typically what they do.
What else would there be?
Typically, they do that when they change, when they're going to run for a different office.
And the only elections next year are the city elections.
Yeah.
So I don't expect her to be running for the city council.
I don't. I think it would be a surprise if she doesn't run.
Right.
So I mean, you've got two. Which would lead me
to believe that puts Gina Gregory out, that she won't run against Connie.
I've heard that she's not running, and the people have said that she says, no way, not doing it. Gina's not running. I don't know if you're going to have anybody. I don't know if anybody from city council is going to run. It doesn't seem that way. So, I mean, I think most of them feel like Joel Daves is out. He's leaving. He said he's absolutely not going to run. William Carroll is the only one who might, but he's not making a lot of noise at this point, though. I mean, I think the big thing, Nodine, whether this is as I said, maybe it's a meme campain. I don't know.
I think it's a good word for it.
It's, whether it's real or not, whether it is just an opportunity for him to relitigate all the things that happened in his prosecution, and wrongs that he believes occurred, whether those are the things or he's seriously trying to run. I mean, regardless of that, he got out front. And that's sort of the first thing here is who's going to jump first, who's going to do it. I think, if you're going to have a large field, people are going to try to get in early. My guess is you're going to see people, once the beginning of the new year starts, you're going to see the field fill up fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's been 70 days since Sandy announced that he wasn't going to seek re-election. That's a long time. I think people were thinking that we were going to have like several, probably a full field before New Year's. And
I don't think anyone expected Sandy not to run again. So it's sort of caught everyone.
And there's also some kind of fundraising time limit, and I can't remember. It's within the I don't know if it's within the calendar year or if it's within the fiscal year that the election occurs, but there is some time that you can start raising money for that election. So that may be some part of it, but there's the longer, I think, if you don't, whatever big dogs there are that are going to be in this race, if there are, the longer those stay out, I think the more it will encourage people who are longer shots to go ahead and throw their hats in the ring. So, I think it's going to be a fairly large group of people running, though. It seems like it. certainly a lot of noise about it.
Yeah, and did we talk about the survey last week?
We talked about it a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
It's, you know,
I think we talked about the survey. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting just to see that come out. I mean, right ahead of all this happening over the weekend. So it's, you know, there's lots of names getting floated around. There's movement being made. I don't know who paid for that survey, but, you know, it definitely seemed like it was Connie called it a push poll.
Well, if you end up with Paul Prine in the race, he keeps claiming he's going to run. You end up with Steve Nodine in the race. You're definitely going to have some really interesting things happening just from those two, not to mention, any of the others who may join. I think it's going to be.
It would just go on brand with all the anti-establishment, popular people right now. You got Trump's whole cabinet filled with all these people that are kind of just positioned to burn it down.
Yeah, I'm not in the position now to say nothing will ever not happen. I don't know. All the paradigms that we had before, I think, are kind of thrown out the window lately. So people are willing to vote for just about anything, or overlook things that they normally wouldn't have overlooked. I'll say it that way. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk with Tommy Hicks about some football. We're getting really down to the nitty gritty here.
Down in our Alabama town, Lagnia-Pod is on the beat. For just $6.50, it's all the news, keeping local folks in the loop. Oh, Lagnia-Pod every single morning, catching up on stories while the coffee's pouring. The local troops on every page, news for the folks of every age.
It's just $6.50 a month for Mobile's daily news, Lagnia-Pod Daily. Get signed up now at lagniapmobile.com and help keep Mobile funky.
Oh, down in our Alabama town, Lagnia-Pod is on the beat. For just $6.50, it's all the news, keeping local folks in the loop. Oh, Lagnia-Pod every single morning, catching up on stories while the coffee's pouring. The local troops on every page, news for the folks of every age.
And we are back with Tommy Hicks, sporting a very lovely blue, like a baby blue type of cover up. I just like to give people
color on him.
It is a nice color on you.
Really
it goes with
brings
your
his eyes
eyes.
out.
It does. It brings out your eyes. You look good. And I just like to give people a little visual at home. A little mental candy there. So we are in the
phones are lighting up right now.
The throws. Yeah, people are getting excited. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. We're at the end of football season. We're getting to the end of football season.
Is.
We had the high school football championships this weekend.
We did.
And there was a big upset.
I don't know if it was that big.
Well,
but it was certainly upset the people of Saraland. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Saraland went to its third straight state championship game and came away as the runner-up for the second straight year after winning in 22.
Yeah.
Faced Parker. Parker was a really good team. They had 6 guys on that team that signed Division I scholarships like 2 days before the game.
Yeah, so you got 6 Division I guys that are going to be playing on Saturdays.
And they weren't small Division I's.
Yeah,
one guy's going to Oregon.
Yeah. Some of these guys may be playing on Sundays then.
They could be playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
They had a couple of defensive backs who were really good, who also ended up scoring touchdowns against Saraland.
That's bad when that happens.
Them on offense,
Yes.
they were pretty good.
When that kind of thing happens to you,
tackles
bad for your
really
team. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I think down here people thought, yeah, Saraland's going to win this thing. But they, once again, though, 3 years in a row, it's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. I mean, when your starting quarterback is what? I think 51-3.
Yeah.
For his.
That's impressive.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
And he's going,
KJ
remind me where he's going.
Headed to Texas.
Texas, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So he's going to
horns.
work with the Manning boy. And then, so also we had some news about the Jags. They are they're bowl bound.
They're bowl bound
all the way
Saturday. All the way to Montgomery.
To Montgomery.
To play a guy from Citronelle's team.
Yeah. Lance Taylor is the head coach of Western Michigan. He is a Citronelle native.
I did not know that.
Yes. And He has been an assistant coach at Stanford and Notre Dame and a lot of different. He was with the Carolina Panthers and the Jets at one time in the NFL. This is his second season at Western Michigan. This first year they've been bowl eligible since he's been there.
Good.
So both of them 6 and 6.
Bowl? Remind me what bowl it is.
It is the Salute to Veterans Bowl this year.
The Salute to Veterans Bowl.
It is the former Camellia Bowl.
That's right. Okay. All right.
In Montgomery, It'll be 8 o'clock kickoff, so get your rest in early, take a nap on Saturday so that you can stay up and watch the whole game.
And we know the 68 Ventures Bowl. Who is going to be in that one?
We're going to have Bowling Green and Arkansas State.
Right.
Arkansas State making its 5th appearance in the Mobile Bowl game. Bowling Green its 3rd, so they're both schools that are familiar with the area.
Okay. And that is in
that is also an 8 p.m. kickoff, the day after Christmas.
Day after. That's what I was going to say. I thought it was the 26th, right?
Great date that they drew this year.
Well,
that
you
does
never
not
know.
help them
People
a whole lot.
People are home.
Only good thing for them is that they are the lead in on ESPN from the Heisman Trophy presentation. So maybe people will.
Tommy, folks are going to be ready to get out of the house and get away from the relatives at that point. They will need the refuge of a football game.
Yes,
1,000%.
They need to do it.
Hey, one thing before we run away from the Jags.
Yes.
Gio Lopez announced today that he is staying.
Okay.
And there was some concern that he would jump in the portal.
That's the breaking news that Ashley had at the beginning. Okay. All right. Good work, Ash.
And she's all over it. I mean, she covered everything. Of course, the news opposite of that was that Fluff Bothwell, the true freshman running back that has such a great impact on this year's team, he is in the portal.
No, we're losing our Fluff, huh?
Great deal of interest, which is interesting because he rushed for 5,000 yards over his last 2 seasons in high school, and he was injured his senior year.
Yeah.
That's maybe why he didn't. Some people thought that was why he didn't get as much interest coming out of high school from the bigger schools, because he had been hurt and they didn't know what to expect. So, it's like Jack State and South and a couple of other group of 5 schools were the only ones that offered him. Now he's got like 14 offers from Power 5 schools.
Yeah.
Auburn. I know Auburn's on the list.
I think Ole Miss, Tennessee.
Ole Miss there's a lot of SEC teams on there. Arkansas is on there, I believe.
It does really suck for the coaches, though, when they find this diamond in the rough that everybody else missed or whatever, and then you just, comes out and performs, you got them 1 year because they're going to get snapped up, right?
You can't compete with those schools NIL money.
It's really just turned the group of 5 schools into pretty much a minor league system,
right,
for Power 5 schools.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is now.
Yeah,
because of NIL and transfer portal.
There was good. Gio is a redshirt freshman, so there was a lot of concern that he was going to go, but he put out on his social media today that he was staying.
That's great.
Now the question is, will he play Saturday? Because in the last game against Texas State, late in the game, he got injured. We all thought it was elbow, but it actually was his right ankle.
Yeah.
He came back toward the end out of uniform toward the end of the game and was on crutches, and he's in a boot. And from what I understand, he has not practiced this week. So there's a great possibility he won't be there. And then there's 4 other guys that are in the portal. You're assuming they will not play, although a couple of them, there's a possibility they'll stick around and play. What Major has said is, Major Applewhite, the head coach, has said is that my main concern is South Alabama. If you go through the practices, you go to the meetings, you take part in everything, you can play. Even if you're in the portal, you can play.
Yeah.
But if you don't do those things, if you take those trips, you're not playing. Yeah. So there's still also the possibility some kids could opt out that are NFL eligible. So it could be a really different lineup on Saturday than what South people have been used to seeing.
All right. Well, it'll be, we'll see how it goes. Today, there it is. That's how it is now. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get at the end of the day. So what you get in the FBS. What did I say it right?
CFP. College football.
Well, I blew that completely.
It used to be the FBS.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did. That was just.
So many
I just went back in time. Yeah. Anyway, so So yeah, the college football playoffs that we finally got the final 12 nailed down, and Bama got knocked out there at the last minute.
Yep, they were the first team out, as they say.
Hot takes. Dale's not here, so what's the hot take from people who are not rabid Alabama fans?
I mean,
I know Scott's about to bark.
He is. I'm going to get ahead of him here because I don't want to follow the barking here. But I mean, bottom line, don't lose to Vandy, don't lose to Oklahoma.
Right.
Take care of your own business.
Right.
You don't have any reason to be upset.
Just don't lose to the state of Tennessee. I mean, which you successfully did twice.
So,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'd still want to say, I mean, does anybody really want to watch Indiana and Boise State and all of those teams play?
I want to see Boise State, but after seeing Indiana,
they have the Heisman guy, right?
They do.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Arizona States and the.
But we say that every year. You know, people say that, but then watch one of these teams end up going pretty far in this. I mean, it's like, a couple of years ago, it was,
I would just rather watch the SEC.
Why is TCU even in this thing?
Over and over.
TCU shouldn't be in this, and then they ended up going up.
They go all the way there.
Go all the way. They did get crushed, but I mean, I'm just saying. But they also didn't. Did they beat Michigan or did they beat? Who was it?
I can't remember who they beat.
They beat one of the big teams. They were not expected to win the first game. Maybe it was Ohio State.
I think it might have been Ohio.
But they beat somebody that everybody said, "Oh, they have no business being here."
And they planted their flag in the middle of Ohio State. No, I don't think they did that. But as a Georgia fan, I can say I sit here and say, is it really a national championship if we didn't beat Bama? And I don't know. That's just in the back of my head, and I'm just. But was it Bama? And I don't know.
I think brought up right.
I think that the big thing is what Saban brought up on during the announcement is that you've got to go in and it's 12 teams. That's great because you're always if it's 4 teams, you're going to argue if you're 5 and 6.
Right.
If it's 12, you're going to argue if you're 13, 14. I mean, last year, Florida State, Alabama got the benefit of the doubt last year.
Right.
I mean, they put them in instead of Florida. Florida State. So, you never know how that's going to work out. But he did bring up some good points. I think that you've got to reevaluate this. If you're going to have the top 12 teams, then rank the top 12 teams. Just because you're a conference champion doesn't mean you're that good.
Yeah.
Let's get the 12 best teams in there, rank them that 1 through 12, and then you 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, the whole thing, and the first 4 get buys. That's the way it should be.
Just do away with it. I mean, have the conference champions, but
nobody's going to play the conference champions. That's the point. If you're the whole thing about it is if you do it that way, then the conference championships are over because there's no reason to play the conference championship.
There's one reason to play a conference championship.
Well, money, but
money.
Yeah, but if you're
everything.
Money talks,
guys. But if you're sitting there, but there's money to be in the playoffs too.
There's a lot of money in
and the coaches are going to be way more interested in going to the playoffs if they think they've got an opportunity to do something than winning their conference championship. And the conference championships will be dead at this point. That's why they had to. I think that's why they had to do what they did because if you said SMU can't go, even if they won their championship, and they get penalized for losing a championship game. I'm sorry, they didn't win their championship. They lost their championship.
The farthest in your conference into the playoffs, that's your conference champion then.
Well, I think they ought to. I mean, personally, what I think they should do is play about 8 games, 6 or 8 games, and then start this round robin early, and then pick your 12. And that way, play conference people first, then play teams that are ranked. Get rid of all these pushover games, and then you don't have the argument you haven't played anybody.
Yeah, the argument that Alabama people were making was that strength of schedule didn't matter.
Right.
Well, I mean certainly that's to be taken into consideration, but it wasn't the losses in the non-conference.
Right.
It was the losses in the conference.
Right. So losing to Vanderbilt
They
kept
lost
them
to
out.
Vanderbilt and they lost to Oklahoma, which is not a great team. I mean,
Vanderbilt
had a much better team than they've had in the past.
I still think they should just let Vegas pick the top 12.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Well,
just let Vegas do it.
But I think it's again, if you're going to try to preserve this concept that that there are conferences and there's conference champions. I mean, I think that what they really just ought to do is just have, here's one level. You are the teams that are going to play for a national championship. The rest of you are NIT. Go play, play yourselves. I mean, the rest of the teams that are not going to be at that level, the hundreds of teams that are not going to be at that level, don't need to be playing these teams. They don't need to play Alabama. They don't need to play. I mean, and yes, again, it was not the non-conference stuff, but it does pump up your record, and it does make, well, we're 12 and, we're 10-3 or we're 9-3 or whatever. Well, if you took off all the teams that shouldn't be playing you really weren't closer to a 500 team.
Right. Yeah. I would like to have been in the room in those SMU discussions. I mean, I don't think there's any chance they would have opted out of the conference championship, but just looking at it, I imagine there were conversations about, could we opt out? Because if we, get absolutely dog walked against Clemson, we're out. But if we stand pat, we stand to get in.
Probably so.
And they were out until the comeback.
Yeah.
They were out of it, I think, until the comeback they made in the second half against Clemson.
Yeah.
It made it a game.
Well, it's just the whole point again is if you're there and you are on the, in the top 12 and you say, and if you play your conference championship and lose and get knocked out, you've played an extra game, you've played a hard team, you get knocked out, there's going to be no impetus to go do that again. Nobody's going to want to do that. So we'll see where it goes. I think it's fun. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's definitely
cool
going to
season.
It is cool. I think it's going to change. I mean, I have a feeling over the years it's going to morph into. I mean, I think it's just going to end up being more like the Final Four. I mean, I think you're just going to have a lot more teams.
The impact of all the other stuff, the conference realignment, transfer portal, NIL, all of that's going to have an effect on how things play out in the years to come.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tommy, thank you so much.
Correct.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit about Luigi. Just $6.50 a month for Mobile's daily news, Lagniappe Daily. Get signed up now at lagniappemobile.com and help keep Mobile funky. And we are back. So, Ashley, you've been particularly interested in this whole shooting of the CEO, the healthcare CEO, and the murder of the CEO since the inception, since it first happened.
Not really the shooting of the CEO, but just the response on social media has been just absolutely fascinating. Because
what fascinates you about it?
Well, it's just that everyone is seemingly unapologetically
that people don't care.
Jubilant. Yes,
people not only do they not care, they seem excited about it. Yeah,
and just it's. I mean, and I say this in my column I read about this week, but I don't think it's really against this individual. It's against the industry. But I mean, it's just. I mean, if you have gone down the rabbit hole to see just how many memes and videos and stuff on social media calling him the Robin Hood we didn't know we needed.
Yeah. This is the killer. This is the killer.
Yes. The critiques of, or not critiques, but more the praises for his abs. And
yes, this is Luigi
Mangione.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Alleged. He's the guy who was arrested, who's alleged to have done this.
People are calling his attorney, his court-appointed attorney in Pennsylvania, trying to pay for his defense already before he is even extradited back to New York. I mean, it's just crazyville.
People are dunking on McDonald's for even giving him up.
Yeah.
It's just
in fact, I saw one of our coworkers post something on Instagram last night. There was just saying Waffle House witness snitched.
Waffle House witness snitched.
Yeah. Well, you got 2 or 3 felonies behind the counter in Waffle House on any given day. The eggs just taste better with a couple felonies.
That's cruel. That's cruel. It's not necessarily true.
Hey.
Not necessarily true.
Allegedly.
It's a crazy story. I mean, and this guy does seem to me like he might be insane.
I mean, he definitely. I mean, it's apparently just stopped talking.
He
to
may
his
have great
family and
abs,
friends
but
for 6 months.
he does seem crazy.
I mean, but he's definitely not the typical, what you would think as an assassin like this, was the valedictorian of his elite private school, and then has two as undergrad and masters from Penn.
Now they're saying now that he may have wanted to bomb New York at some point too. So,
well, no, he said, I've been keeping.
I was going to say, you are.
He made a mistake, Rob.
He thought he considered bombing. To using a bomb to kill this guy, but he did not want to kill any innocents, which of course just made all of the women on social media swoon.
Oh my God.
He's a murderer with a conscience.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people comparing him to the Oregon bomber? No, the Oklahoma.
Unabomber.
Yeah, that one.
Well, he loves the Unabomber.
He does.
The Unabomber,
yeah, because he had a whole memoir, and I guess he has a couple books out.
He did a book review.
He read the Unabomber's ramblings. Yes.
I love it. He gave the book review a 4 stars. he's like, you know what? I probably could have done it better.
The most fascinating thing I saw about his book reviews is that he decided to review the Unabomber's manifesto right after he rated the Lorax by Dr. Seuss. So it's like the Lorax, and then it was the Unabomber's manifesto.
Did the Lorax deserve a bullet in the head too?
No, he gave it a 5 stars, so he rated it higher than the Unabomber.
Yeah, what was it? 4 out of 5?
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
Needs an editor.
Yeah.
A little too rambling.
Right.
Too many rhymes.
Yeah. The most interesting thing to me at this point is, after anything like this happens, you got liberals and conservatives automatically trying to group this guy into one camp or the other.
Yes,
and
always.
It's just the guy doesn't fit in any good boxes. They're kind of claiming this anti-capitalist thing, but it's very interesting. He's in the computer science realm.
And support seems to reach across the aisles. Because everyone hates the insurance industry.
Yeah, it's and I mean, I think that's the issue. A lot of people have had. I mean, most people have had issues with health insurance in a feeling that. I mean, if you need insurance and you have it, it is a godsend when you need it. I mean, I had an accident 3 years ago that my bill was close to $500,000. Insurance paid for it. Now I had to come out of pocket. I probably came out of pocket $15,000, which is a pittance of what they claimed that the hospital said the bill was. Now, that's not what the insurance company paid for it. But it's still, if you don't have that money, that's a lot. And you still wonder sometimes, like when your health insurance is a lot of money every month and it's a big part of your salary. And then you go to the doctor and you have to pay a $65 copay. I'm like, why? It doesn't. A lot of it doesn't make sense.
And I think for the most part, you're in an emergency situation, and I think insurance does actually a pretty decent job because they have no choice in the matter. I think where people really get upset, and I know I've just had friends that have gone through this, is like, for instance, cancer drugs, and you've heard this wonder drug. Your doctor is telling you, we've got to get you on this. It will probably save your life. And your insurance company says, well, you're going to have to go through this. You're going to have to go.
You got to go through the protocols.
This drug, and this drug before. Well, you don't want. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it makes me angry just to think about if they told me that for my husband or child. Yeah. Say, no, I want the drug that's going to save their lives right now.
Well,
now.
You have to go through for cancer stuff. You have to go through the chemo first, generally, and even though.
Which
in certain cases, we know it's probably not going to work.
Right.
And you have to do that to get to the immunologics. And so, just in my own case, I had an MRI when I had an accident, when I had my leg almost cut off. You got an MRI, right? And then 3 months later, a new doctor here in Mobile said, we got to see if we have a bone graft. We need to get an MRI, and the insurance company said, well, you already had one. Like, yeah, but I had a catastrophic injury 3 months ago. Things may have changed.
Yeah.
But they still denied it, and I never ended up getting it until like far, way later, months later. It could have been a bad situation. And so those are the kinds of things, obviously, that maybe get people shot in the back. I don't know.
Yeah, and then, too, I mean, it's just, I mean, I know we've had this discussion about universal health care, and everybody seems like, yes, everybody should have insurance, but then it's like, oh, well, don't take my insurance away or whatever when you get there. But when you have a company that is publicly traded and they are incented to deny you so they have a bigger profit, I mean, that just grosses everyone out. I don't know the answer to it, but it's gross.
Well, I mean, the guy who's getting shot is on his way to a conference to talk about the hundreds of millions of dollars they made that year.
Their profit was $23 billion in 2023.
I mean, sorry, billions and not millions. Billions of dollars that they made that year. It does make. I mean,
their return on investment was 27%. Yeah. You know, Disney is regarded as a good stock to have. Theirs is like 2.3%.
Right. Yes.
I mean, and that just makes people crazy. I mean, you have to understand that.
It does.
Insurance cannot cover everything, obviously, or they couldn't survive. But when they're making that kind of profit and money, I mean, it's just
Well, it is interesting how this thing has sort of just touched a nerve across the country, because you look at so many things, you say, well, what are the answers to these issues? I mean, I don't, it's just like when we talk about Medicaid expansion in Alabama, well, you have people say, this is a bad idea. It's not, the federal government's going to raise the money, raise rates on you after you do it. And those are all probably very valid points. But, I had a guy in here talking about it the other day, and I finally just said, well, but there's no answer to this. Nobody's doing anything to make these things better. When you have when you have counties that don't have hospitals, and people they don't have coverage and they can't get medical care, and when you get denied when you have insurance, people in general are just, the healthcare industry at this point is a mess, and there needs to be, nobody's really trying to fix it. And I mean, when you look at state to state, most states have a monopolistic company that is, there's no competition in most states for healthcare. It's in Alabama, Blue Cross Blue Shield has 95% of the market, something like that. Yep. And it's like that in almost every state. They don't allow other companies to come in and bid for this and try to do better. So you have, we don't want socialism, but we're not allowing capitalism.
Right. But I mean, look at, just spend an afternoon on OpenSecrets.org and look at all the just put United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and look at it is every name AOC, Elizabeth Warren, the Kentucky Republican Association. I mean, they give to everybody. I mean, and not just a little, a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it is, and it's it's kind of an amazing thing. It's a sad thing that's how it gets people fired up. I don't know if anything good will come out of it or not.
Nothing will.
I saw earlier before we came in here that there's already like posters going up around New York for wanted posters for other healthcare CEOs. So they're they may be kind of a hunted class. Or,
I don't know the connection. I know that Luigi had a back injury, pretty devastating back injury, and he was having to go through that. I don't know how that's connected to his.
If those X-rays online are accurate, the giant screws in his back, if that's really his,
he clearly got the surgery.
Yeah,
I guess that's him. I don't know. Anything could be anything on the internet.
My guess is this is just he got obsessed with this, and it was just on principle, not really at first I think everyone was like, this is going to be some father whose child got denied some care or something like that, but
he got obsessed, became manic,
went down the.
But I mean, he's from a very well-off family in Maryland. I don't foresee him actually having like a financial issue with that surgery.
I'm sure they could have written a check.
It's probably more mental illness, but
he's also on psychedelic drugs, I think.
Well, that probably will do some of that too. I don't know. So anyway, we'll find out. As it unfurls here, this whole thing will be interesting. But But
again, I mean, obviously, and we've kind of made light of it, just like everyone else on the internet. But obviously, we're not advocating for going out and shooting healthcare.
Hell no, of course not. But
normal people think about it and joke about it. I'm going to kill that SOB, but they don't actually go do it.
What I'm kind of scared of is, what if it works? What if his goal was to push this into the front of the conversation, to bring some kind of change, and he justified that by taking out this attack? And if this, what I'm scared of is, I want it to change, but if this is the thing that hinges that change, then what will people be able to or willing to do or be more justified to do in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say, "I hope he gets off." I hope, I'm like, this isn't the way to do things. It's this is not the way to do things. There are
it
changes.
definitely is not 100%. But what is the way to get it?
Well, it needs to be.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed by the people that we elect. But they are so persuaded by all of the money that these healthcare companies give them. It is very difficult to get them to do.
It is the number
to get them to do their job.
Healthcare and insurance are number 1 and number 3 on the amount of lobbying money. Even out. They outspend Silicon Valley. Money talks, especially in politics. So it's a difficult thing. Well, that's it for this week, folks. We are going to take a break, and we'll be back next Thursday with the next Lagnia-Pod. Thanks for listening.
Love you. Bye.
The Lagnia-Pod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pole Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lagniapmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.